Friday. A lot happened in the world. We had a deep, long one yesterday on world events, what has happened in our nation, and we are going to leave that there for today. And if we feel the need to address more in the future, we will. Appreciate all the perspective, all the comments, that every single word that was said was not words that resonated for all. Understandable. Before anybody even thinks they would understand what that means, however, I would request you watch the entire huddle start to finish. And for those that had some other comments, I appreciate your respectful nature of the comments, at least to what I understand them to be. Appreciate it. Thank you. Love you all. Unconditional boundaries. And final, I truly believe that 99% of our nation wants 99% of the same things, and that there are at the wide edges of things polarizing factions that make us, the 99%, get confused that there's another massive side, there's a war, there's division, and I think that's just absolute fucking bullshit. And if we sit, and it's okay if you believe that, because I know a lot of you on this call believe that about like that you're on one side and other people on the other side, and even split down the middle of what he is here in Unblinded. You might have that story. That's not the truth. The truth is that people want more money and less time with more magic. They want to love people. They want to feel loved. They have 6 human needs, and that's what's functioning. And it gets confusing how we express them. And if you didn't listen to yesterday's huddle, don't think you know what that means. I'm not even going to go further and start explaining what that means. Don't put me in a box. Don't misunderstand my comments unless you listen to the entire huddle yesterday. And this is no negativity, right? Because the comments have been beautiful about yesterday's huddle. Thank you. It's been amazing. So it's nothing negative. I'm just going fast to get to the meat of this stuff. And then I will say this is one final, because this did come up on a call and somebody who's been in the movement had no idea. So I've said it a couple of times. But I would re-listen to the huddle back in time, and Chaz, let's maybe post it, where we discussed issues of systemic racial bias in America. I have mentioned that my stepchildren are Black. I've mentioned that previously, who I raised, and definitely confront and dealt with systemic racial bias. And that just can inform also part of your listening of me. So to be clear, if you're like, what is happening? Nothing happened. Only good things happen. Deep conversation happened yesterday. Strong conversation happened yesterday. Respectful dissent and disagreement happened yesterday. It was a beautiful day. I'm just saying, if it's something that interests you, before you think about anybody, that you understand what they believe about what just happened, what they believe about our country, what they believe about the left or the right. Do deep investigation before you categorize and judge. And I was on a call yesterday with somebody who was absolutely amazing, who said something truly wonderful. And I'd love this person, if they feel like saying, hey, that was me, feel free to, said, and they were horrified, enraged and upset about what had happened at the Capitol, and understandably. And they said, but listen, I don't prejudge anybody. Like, I don't prejudge anybody encounter. I don't think I presume to know what they think, why they think it, how they think it. I had so much gratitude and respect for that. So again, if you have listened to nothing, don't presume you know what my position is. I'm not going to go into the depths of it. If you want to hear the depths of it, you can listen to yesterday's huddle. You can listen to the huddle over the summer. It all stems from loving people, though, unconditional boundaries. And the core message is seek the truth. Like the truth, not a conspiracy, not an innuendo, right? Not like, hey, I saw that you were in this town, therefore then there was a murder in this town, and therefore that means you committed the murder, right? Like, that's crazy, right? But also understanding what is evidence is and is not is important. All of these things are important, and we did a lot of treatment on these things. So love you all, and let's go build our business, money, time, and magic, because we can't make the world a greater place by fighting, arguing, or disagreeing with each other. We make the world a greater place by causing leadership through positive action, right? We cause leadership by being examples of possibility and driving things forward. And when I think of positive leadership, I think about Abraham Lincoln, right? Who, by the way, did fight a war, right, for justice. So sometimes Zeus energy is needed. But what happened the other day was not the Zeus energy that was needed. And Abraham Lincoln and our founding fathers, right, who fought to escape religious oppression, Abraham Lincoln, who that was an economic battle, right? That was an economic battle, as well as a battle around slavery. Let's all be real all the time. But fought for justice and what was right and saw every reasonable alternative, before action that looked anything like that. So I am a huge fan of our justice system, by the way, which is perfectly imperfect because I've seen it work at its best. I've seen it work at its worst. But when people have money, power, and resources, the justice system does work. So the justice system doesn't often work for people who don't have money, power, and resources. The justice system doesn't work when it doesn't work. It's when people don't have money, power, and resources. So that is a part of the reforms that we need to think about how to make that change. And I know there's people on this line that work with people who are indigent and challenged and watch the justice system not work for them. But for the powerful, the enriched, yeah, if you have a problem, the justice system works for you. So enough on that. So last night, in a quick tempo shift, we talked about how your HUI, heroic unique identity, can be leveraged for you off of the identity of others, including Unblinded, including the Real Raw. And before we step into that, and we may or may not get to that today, in transparency, I know we moved that a couple of times, be patient, because there's something that profoundly leapt out of last night that is much more useful, powerful, and immediate and urgent, I think, for the movement to rise in overall, right? We're always thinking and assessing, hey, what's the most important thing that we need to be dealing with now to elevate everybody, So let's go Adam and Fernando real quick. Adam, what did you discern from last night? And we're going to talk about question mastery today. Question mastery and its sub-distinctions, which is one of the 18 levers in smaller QVC. It's obviously the Q, the 8th of the 10 indispensable elements. So Adam, what was present for you around question mastery last night? What'd you see?
That the pull, the natural pull, the tendency is to speak into a default no or with statements.
And say one more time, you cut out. So real quick. So the tendency is?
The tendency is to speak into the default no, or what some may call objections, into that with statements, beliefs, as opposed to the deliberate, certain nature of questions that you provided last night, the certainty, the delicate questions as well, which were able to have that individual see what they weren't seeing and create the picture, being really in a box of truth, because there was no other way other than contradicting himself to not completely agree with what you hadn't even said.
Yep. Okay. So thank you. So question mastery first requires certainty. So question mastery requires certainty. And certainty is a subpart of congruence. When you're congruent, right, you're also certain. You can't be certain without being congruent. And congruent means your words, vocal qualities, and body language align, okay? And so the first thing you want to do in question mastery is be wildly curious so people tell their story. Write this down now. Fernando, if we can create, this would be awesome from now on because we're going deep in content and we're having unique distinctions created around slides. So if you and or Chaz team can start capturing and we can create slides around this and some of these distinctions that arise. So question mastery requires, right? Question mastery requires an understanding that we all live in a different world. Adam, explain the world to me in 10 seconds. What is the world?
The world is a wonderful, incredible place with many, many challenges, but it is a place of overall joy, happiness, with a sense of...
Okay, pause, 10 seconds. Fernando, what is the world?
What is the world?
Describe the world. 10 seconds.
Okay, just to question, did you define it? Because if so, I missed it.
Nope, describe the world. Just according to Fernando.
Okay, the world is an infinitely growing place that's constantly rising to mastery to achieve money, time, and magic.
All right. Adam, is that what you said?
No, probably not at all.
Yeah. So we live in different worlds.
More answers, I'm sure.
We live in different worlds than everybody else. So how can we influence them if we don't know what their world is? So every human you encounter that you walk up to, understand they literally live in a different planet than you do. They live in a different planet than you do, which is only being accelerated by social media differentials, but even before that. So for Adam, what is love? 10 seconds.
Love is a feeling of connection at the deepest level.
Okay. Fernando, what is love?
Love is a conversation.
Okay. Are those two things the same?
No.
Okay. And Adam and Fernando, do you guys like each other and get along really well?
He's my homie, man.
Yeah. And you live in two different planets. And those are just like big words. What does discipline mean, Adam? How do you know when somebody's disciplined? Give me the top three principles of discipline. Go.
Top three principles of discipline are related to time blocking, to eating healthy, and staying focused.
Time blocking, eating healthy, and staying focused. Fernando?
Ego subjugation, dedication to mastery, and consistency.
Are those two even close to the same thing?
No.
Okay. So the first thing you have to do is find out somebody's world and story. And that's what we did last night. So if you want somebody to come to a place of mutual understanding, the second principle you have to understand is that people don't know what they don't know. They simply don't know what they don't know. Fernando, when you met me, did you have any idea of how much you didn't know about influence?
Certainly not.
Even close?
Galactically, huge blind spot, was not aware to.
Yeah. So if you were to look, when you saw yourself on the scale of mastery, what's possible in influence 18 months ago, rating yourself today, looking back at that guy, what rating would you give on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like a 6.
And what number do you give yourself now?
I would say, crossing the tippy point of 9s.
Yeah. I would go for you 9.9.
Thank you. Perfectly
imperfect, but 9.9 plus. But fine, 9, way different than 6. But I go 9, right? So we have to realize that people don't know what they don't know. So if you're like, hey, I have a great idea for you, you can gain influence as a superpower. If you're speaking, well, number one, they don't know influence is a superpower. Number two, they may not want a superpower. Number three, they may not even know what the hell you would do with a superpower and why they should care. So when you're communicating and influencing people, making statements into a world that you don't know is like literally flying to China tomorrow and starting to communicate with people about an idea in English, and they don't speak English and they speak Chinese, and you don't speak Chinese. And that's why most people can't influence people. Because literally, we are speaking into like a different language and a different reality. And if we did nothing else in this huddle call this morning, but understand that dynamic, we've made progress. You exist in a different reality than other people. And we have to, and this is a quote from somebody that I heard speak a while back, and I do say it, you have to speak into the listening of other people. And the things we say here, the fine gentleman last night, it's like, oh, like your lingo. Hold on a second. What is the definition of lingo?
Lingo is an informal and humorous term. It means a foreign language or local dialect.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a humorous term, it's a foreign language, it's a local dialect, right? That's not true. But it also kind of suggests like that it has sort of some meaning, but it's the same way of saying something else. I think one can argue that lingo might give off the impression, or jargon, lingo, that it means the same thing as something else. Oh, I get it. So when you say ecosystem merge, you mean like a strategic alliance. Oh, I get it. When you say ecosystem merge, you mean like a referral relationship. No, we don't. And if you treat the mixing of pharmaceuticals that way, you kill people. If something is a microscopic bit off, somebody could die, or the thing just doesn't work. So the land and the world we're in with people is the world of precision. And we were on the internal team call this morning. They're like, yeah, that thing, like you say, Sean, about, modesty and humility. And I'm like, it's pretty extraordinary that you don't know what that thing is, because it's not what I say. It's like a tenet of life, the difference between humility and modesty, and a cornerstone principle of this program. I love you, but how come you don't know that and how to say it? And there's no judgment, but it's like in the Miracle on Ice, they had to be somewhere precisely when the puck was passed. They were weaving in and out and doing specific, deep practice things. And for those that were on the call, somebody was talking about another major coaching program in the world, right? We're not a coaching program, but we're not a coaching and training program, right? We're that and more. And they're like, yeah, we learned to vision things. I'm like, did you learn about influence? No. Did you learn specific action steps in marketing? No. I'm like, and you're comparing these two programs, right? Well, so the third principle of question mastery is we have to let through our questions. Actually, I'm going to go slower. So you have your principles so far. I want to now lean into these specific things. One, you want to have people define the world according to them. That's what you're doing at steps 1, predominantly, and 2. Because in pain and yes strategy, remember this yes strategy, you're clarifying what things mean to them. Remember your modules. We don't say that as much on the huddle, like we don't dig into all the micro distinctions, but remember from the modules. So when you're like, hey, so what would it look like for you? You want to make more money? Like, what do you mean? Like you're in yes strategy, pain and yes. The yes is yes strategy. You're having people define their terms, also known as their world. Okay? So if I'm talking to Adam, right, and Adam and I meet, it's a true story. Let's lean in. So I meet Adam and I'm like, dude, that's incredible. You built a 700 and this is when Adam and my relationship changed forever. And Adam, do you even know what I'm about to say? I'm just curious.
100%, guaranteed.
Tell everybody where we're about to go.
You were shocked that I was not making $1 million a year.
Yeah, millions a year.
Millions.
And I wasn't trying to be like difficult. I wasn't trying to be like divisive, right? I was just like, so dude, you built a $750 million company. It's unbelievable. 0 to 500 people. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's amazing. And then I'm not going to make it up. I don't remember the next distinction. I'm like, how does that feel?
I know. I remember the next distinction.
That
it was literally like, it wasn't something I was comfortable even speaking into. This was the first time we ever met, to be talking about my salary and the fact that I didn't have the upside that I had been promised, like all of those things. Those were conversations that I would never have, but I felt so comfortable. And I felt your true, authentic curiosity and care for me in that moment.
Yeah. But the moment, the access point was right before that, which was, I didn't just go, hey, Adam, what do you make?
No.
Yeah. I said like, oh, it's amazing. And how does that feel? And I think, Adam, tell me if I'm wrong, this is in Capitol Grill, right? In the room when you come in, like if you walk in the door, you make a left past the bar right in that room, correct?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
And so
You were late, by the way. You were late, by the way, just for a little.
that
I
is
think like an hour late, but okay.
sorry.
No,
Shocking.
it's all good. It's all good.
It worked out.
I was staying till midnight. Don't worry. Go ahead.
By the way, Real Raw is still cheaper than Capitol Grill. I'll just let you know that. So we're at Capitol Grill, and I say to Adam something like, "How does that feel?" And Adam said, "It's amazing." And you know, it's all going to work out. Like you didn't say there was some word.
Yes, I was set for life was what I said. They told me that I was.
Oh, you said they told you I'm set for life. That was
Yes.
it. Like, oh, that's awesome, man. Like, and I thought, I'm like, wait, they told you? And I'm like, wow, like, so you of course have like an agreement, right? Well, and I was in that moment, like, holy S. Like, are you kidding me? Like, is this actually happening? And in that moment, I wasn't like, yay, opportunity for me. I was scared and heartbroken for Adam. And I'm just like, what the F? What? How long has this been? What have you done? How much money? What pictures they posting online? How much money are they making? Like, what? And then I started asking questions of the world. I'm like, wow, like, okay, and what's important to you? And can I ask Adam, what do these conversations sound like? And if you don't want to talk about this, totally cool. But what is you? And all of a sudden, we were into all of this space. That was creating the world according to Adam. But I didn't walk in there to talk about the formula. I walked in to get to know Adam and his world exhaustively, to see where I could add value.
You did make a statement at once we got through all of that, and that statement has still resonated till now. And somehow I got credit for the quote, but it was yours in that moment, and it was, if you're not in agreement, you're in disagreement.
Yeah.
And coming from you, of course, made more than a lot of sense.
Yeah. So real quick, Matt and Chaz, let's play the Chris Crone clip from the new video. I know you guys could do that quickly. I believe in you. I know you can get it up in 2 minutes. That the Chris Crone clip of the 3 things that I do from now version 12.0 that we have into me speaking in Idaho, into the party and what happens, that like 3 minutes, because that speaks right into this. Okay, team. So, so once we have the world according to them, then we start to put things into more specific containers. Like, it's like, Adam, essentially the question was like, how do you know that you could trust this? Like, how do you know? And then it was like, well, what do you really want? And why did you go to Business Mastery? And wait, they texted you what while you were at Business Mastery? What did you get texted? Like, they were making fun of you? Wow. What's going on? And none of that was manipulative. I was just like, holy, what? You paid for it? I brought Fernando. Fernando's running around the room talking to every human being about everything, came back and shot a video that I wasn't even in and edified every contact I put him in touch with. And I paid for him to go. And you didn't even pay to go. Fernando, of course, I'm teasing you and I love you. but that did not happen.
You paid for the guy who invited and created the meeting, who was not even an employee for you. And that was contribution.
I'm like, and they have a $750 million company that you built on folding chairs at a table and you paid to go. I have a much smaller company and I brought like 10 people to LA, right? For UPW to go to our legendary mastermind event. Amazing teammates like Hala and others. I'm like, wait, who I paid for their hotel, their ticket, probably paid $30,000 for that trip, 30 to 40. And you paid for yourself, and respectfully to all of them, they didn't build a $750 million company for me. I'm like, what? And that's the energy underneath it. And if you re-listen to last night, if you re-listen, and we'll put that in the elite chat, right? Let's please team today, this morning, excerpt that out, that analysis with Dr. Orman's teammate, right? Put that in the chat, in the elite chat, not publicly facing, right? And put that there today, and not publicly facing, right? And last night, what we were leaning into was then like the analogies of like, wow, so let me ask you a question. Are you like, let's play it through, Adam. So what is it that you want in life? What is it you want? And then it's like what I'm hearing you say, because then, right, it's what I'm hearing you say is the declaratory statement, but it's about clarifying. We can make declaratory statements to clarify is you want impact, but you do want financial freedom, you want impact, and you want to make the world a greater place. So if you're talking to somebody about joint speaking, like let's say it's an organization, you can understand fundamentally people want more money, less time, more magic in some priority order. More money in less time with more magic in some priority order. Me, I want magic. I don't want money and time. I could have money and time, right? I have money and time if I choose. I want magic. I want impact. So if you come to me and say, Sean, you could make a lot of money doing this, that is not interesting. Sean, you could have a lot more time freedom. If it's a distinction on how to create some time and scaling and what we're doing specifically to free me up to speak, to help this entire movement accelerate, which we are, great. Anything else, you're not speaking into my listening. And people do come to, hey, I have a great investment opportunity for you. And inside of me, I go, how do you even know I want a great investment opportunity? How do you even think I have 30 minutes to spare to listen to something? Because you're presuming if I could make some more money passively, that's a more valuable 30 minutes than innovating on Unblinded and changing the world. Why would you be presuming that? So let's not presume anything. But money, time, and magic covers all the baskets. They either want nothing more or money, time, and magic. More time with their kids is time. They want to, raise money for charity, magic, right? If it's an organization, they all want more members, more money, or more engagement, more energy and engagement. More money, more members, more engagement. So those are the three things you're speaking into, but you want to have them say it through questioning. So we always say, if you're making declaratory statements in the first half of your communication, first two steps, so write this down, every communication, the first 2/3 of every one of your communications are questions. So if it's a 1 hour meeting, 2/3 times 1 hour is 40 minutes. If it's a 10-minute meeting, 2/3 of a 10-minute meeting, I think is 6 minutes and 36 seconds, I believe, right? Or something like that. I think so. Or no, probably 40 seconds, right? Excuse me. It would be 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So first 2/3. If it's 3 minutes, 2 minutes, it's 2/3. And it's all questions, but the only declaratory statements you can make are clarifications. Hey, what I'm hearing you say, hey, just to clarify, what I'm hearing is, right? What I'm seeing is, what I'm feeling from what you're saying is, right? Actually, what I'm feeling is probably not even what I'm feeling that you're feeling. You could say that, right? My perception of what you're feeling is, right? Those are all the clarifying statements, or it could be an acknowledgement and validation, right? Those could be in there in the first 2/3, nothing else. Speaking into benefits is destruction, because you have no openness of listening and you have no idea of what world they live in. And people, again, come up to me all the time like, hey, I got a great business idea for you. I don't want a great business idea. I only want a great business idea if it accelerates the mission of Unblinded and connects. That's all I care about. I don't care about a great business idea. I care about it if it accelerates this mission, period. That's it. I don't care about more money. I don't want any physical material item in the world that I don't currently have. Not the richest guy in the world, but I have everything I want materially. Not one more thing. Nothing. There's not one thing I wake up and go, you know what I'd like to have is this. It's a blessing. And maybe I don't want a yacht. I don't really care to have a boat. Like none of those things would drive me. Like if somebody gave me one, I guess, right? But it's not something that it all sits inside of me. at all in any way. And I could buy one. I could buy a boat, right? How much? Whatever. I could buy an expensive boat. I don't care, right? So speaking into the listening of people is critical. And this is why when you hear things like, hey, invite lawyers, financial people, like they're not all the same. So there's a difference. And now we get into like probabilities, right? The probability is that an attorney that's been practicing for 40 years would be much less inclined than an attorney practicing 8 years to want to be growing their business. Now, the attorney practicing for 40 years might want to exit their business, and there's people, Mike Reeder and other people that would be wonderful people for them to meet about exiting, transitioning, and other fantastic people here. So you have to understand probabilities inside of groupings. Like you have to think, but not horizontally, like within the vertical of the conversation, think about the optimal distinctions. And then in every human personal encounter, understand that they want something and you're seeking to add value, right? Chaz, do we have that dynamic or no? Yeah, it's the whole thing, right, Vince? I'm sorry. Thank you, Vince. It's Chris into Idaho, into Tony's backyard. Yes? Yeah, let's play it real quick. So watch, now listen to what Chris Crone, this is his assessment of me. I didn't know he was going to say it, and watch the embodiment of it. If you think you can't add value to somebody's life, watch this.
Sean will gain proximity to the most influential and powerful people. He will find out how he can grow their business, how he can help them personally. But the third thing that he does is the most important. Sean serves without an expectation of getting anything in return.
Let's make this a breakthrough moment where we're going to do something completely ridiculous. But I want to crush and blow through that intention to save lives in honor of Tony's birthday as well. And we raised 1.7 million in half an hour. The difference in influence could be the difference between, nothing, a $500,000, and 1.7 million. 22 years ago, you transformed my life as you did all these people's lives over the course of time. And I couldn't be more grateful. Let's hear it for Tony Robbins.
I was watching so hard that I forgot to take my camera out to start recording.
I am witnessing Tony make an acknowledgement.
Awesome. Okay. So Adam Gugino, what did you just see on those clips? Like interpret that really fast for everybody, what they just saw.
What they saw was the cross edification of some of the most the highest level of outcome of integrity-based human influence, for sure. And it was all through adding massive value without expecting anything in return by some of the most influential people on the planet.
Yeah. I walked into Tony Robbins' room in January 2018 as a lawyer who bought a business mastery ticket in the middle of the room, right? And then that event that you just watched happened 2 years later, right? And Chris Crone was describing what he had been witnessing for 2 years, which is the ability to just connect with people, find out what they need and add value. How the hell do you think you could find something that Tony Robbins needs? Right? How the hell? But I watched. I was patient. I waited. And when moments came when there was a need, I served it. I added massive value through my influence mastery skill sets in several key critical moments with zero expectation of return. And not only was there zero expectation of return, there were moments when I could have asked and I didn't, ever, never, ever. And then you saw what happened in the backyard, right? I could cry thinking that I had the privilege to try to return some of the value that Tony has brought to my life in a teeny tiny little way, a tiny little gift that I was able to provide and be a part of providing. Tiny little gift. And I'm honored because of just what his tapes and books did for me 23 years ago. And then what you heard Jack and Bella start to speak into is what they witnessed in the edification of Tony. I wasn't even going all the way to that, right? When Tony edified me 3 months ago, And that is all the byproduct of level 5 listening, the power of questions of the people around the circle, and offering to add value with zero expectation of return. And that's what we're all doing here. And that's what happened last night. People want more money, less time, more magic. Even Tony Robbins wants more magic. That's why he's still doing what he's doing. You want more magic. You may want more money and time first. It's all good, whatever it is. But every person you encounter wants more, even if they don't admit it. Some people, by the way, may not want magic right now because they may have just come off of an amazing run and they may be living in their perfect hotbed of magic and taking a pause. So that's like 0.001% of people. Like 1 out of 100,000 people you will talk to will be right in that sweet spot where they're just exhaling and absorbing a major accomplishment that they've just achieved in their life. And they will have the money, they will have the time freedom, they'll be experiencing the magic, and they will just be on pause. That's 1 out of 100,000 people. Everybody else you will talk to will want more money, less time, more magic. And you frame that not by speaking into benefits. Hey, I got this thing for you. Wrong. Like question, like, hey, and watch last night repeatedly. And the challenge I gave to the team is to engage in deep practice. Slow it down, speed it up. Slow it down, speed it up. Watch the first 5 seconds and be able to do it. Then watch the next 10 seconds and be able to do that 5 seconds, the second 5 seconds, and the first 5 seconds. If you do that and master have question mastery and all the rest of the formulas going on last night, but focusing first on your question mastery, your congruence, your empathy and heart, right, present there, everything will change. And I'm very sure, yeah, go ahead, please.
No, real quick on that as well. Just in step 2, putting something at stake.
Yes.
And superpower of influence. When you think about the 1.7 million that was raised that day, you look at Underground Railroad, who has put a dollar amount on lives being saved. They, I don't. It's over 1,000, couple thousand, whatever that number is. And then when you think about your level of influence on that stage, getting to 1.7, when you said it could have been 0, could have been 500, could have been 1.7, the higher your level of mastery was literally equating to a dollar amount that was directly causing lives and children to be saved.
Right. But understand, yes. And I think the number was over 500 lives. I'm very comfortable with that number, the way that they calculate it. And it could have been more, but it was over 500 lives. Right. But it took us something, because there was also a part of it of like, I had to have conversations to lead that. I was asked to do certain things. And then the way I was in a room with 8 people with a lot of significance, right? There were people from RRI, there's a couple of the Lions, and they were like brainstorming. And I was like sitting back, I was listening. They're like, yeah, we'll just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Everybody was afraid to lead and step on toes. I let it play out for about 10 minutes. And then I asked the question, say, hey, what's our intention? Like, what's the outcome? And like, oh, we'll do our best. That's the outcome. I'm like, I don't think that's an outcome. I don't think that's what Tony would say. So what's our outcome? What's our intention? And they're like, well, I'm like, and everybody's kind of hesitant. I'm like, a number. What's the intention? Like, we're up there for impact, for love, and we're there for a number. What's the number? And then 500,000 squeaked out somewhere. I'm like, we're going to blow that number away. And then I said, the number we're going to set is 1.5 million. And one other person that was in that room was like, yes, that's the number I had in my heart. And everybody's like, oh my God. Like, and I'm like, we're going to crush this for people. And I'm like, can I ask permission for something? Like, what's the intention here? Is it that we all share the stage and microphone? Is it that everybody gets their time? Or is it that we raise this money? And I'm asking honestly. I asked that question. I said, what's really the outcome? They're like, raise the money. I'm like, then with humility, let me just drive. I will put everything on the line to say I will hit that number and exceed it in that room. I was like, we know you will. I'm like, all right, so is that the intention? Let's go. And I'm like, let's go. And we did. But it started with questions. What's the intention? I didn't say, hey, let me do this to raise money, because the outcome might not have been to raise money. The outcome might've been that 6 different people speak and everybody gets 3 minutes and feels good and gets a pat on the back. I'm not exaggerating. Like some events are like that. So I had to first find out what's the intention. And then I could speak into it with my HUI, which was already present, but I can lean in and ask for an agreement. And then we did, there was some significance that arose on the stage that day. And I honor Scott Humphrey because he like cut in as like, no. One of the RRI team, was like, hey, and now, and we were at like 700,000 and they were trying to shut it down. And I don't know why. How about this? I'm not going to judge why, but it was not the plan. And then Scott Humphrey takes credit. No, Sean's not done. And we raised another $1 million. That's the power of influence through question mastery. 18 levers. Master your influence through questions with the micro distinctions we described today. And if you heard me say today, go teach this today. Go teach this now and do it. Teach it and do it. But if you think you heard me say, oh yeah, I'm pretty good at asking questions. I ask questions. Yeah, next. You are not in deep practice. You're not in a talent hotbed. You're in a typical delusional state of a personal development person that half listens and is here for motivation and connection. I love you and you're welcome here for motivation and connection, but do not get confused that you're not going to get more money in less time with more magic because you're motivated and want to be connected. Be motivated, want to be connected, and develop your skill set and what to do with it. And that skill set and what to do with it is about questions, framing their world, understanding it through open-ended questions, not yes and no. Yes and no to clarify. I'm hearing you say ... It's after you had open-ended. You have their world, then start putting everything in container of truth. So what I'm hearing you say is that when you went to that coaching program, you didn't learn anything about marketing or influence, right? No, you're right. What I'm hearing you say is you have no specific plan whatsoever to do your marketing other than posting and praying and hoping it works out, which we've already described, Mary, is the same thing as randomly going down into the ocean and looking for treasure. It's like, hey, Mary, let me ask you a question. Would you just dive into the ocean and look for treasure and hope that's how you got more money? No, of course not. Cool, I just want to make sure. And like seed that earlier, like create containers of truth and things that you know to be the truth and have people agree in integrity and then come back later. Watch last night, master last night. You're in a talent hotbed. So thankful. Love you guys. Fernando, final.
Final. What if Nikola Tesla's inventions, how the founding fathers wrote the Constitution, and how Albert Einstein discovered the theory of relativity was more than divine timing and more like an act of advanced science? That is what's present here on the talent hotbed of Unblinded. It is the commitment and dedication and consistency to a rise in our mastery for our money, time, and magic. The question is, what will we do with it? That is the takeaway on this lovely Fun Friday. Thank you all, and back to you, Sean.
Everything we talked about has distinctions inside of it. So don't think the distinction ends with, okay, so yeah, like have people tell the story of their life. It's not what I said. I said have a container of the world according to them as it relates to what you're talking about and have them locked into it. And then once you're there and have all these different lock-ins, then you can begin to ask questions related to what you're talking about. And their objections collapse upon themselves if you're in integrity. This is an integrous process. You're not trying to convince people to buy pens they don't need, right? So, hey, wouldn't you agree that you need a good pen? No, I don't need a good pen. That's like sales manipulation, closing nonsense, right? It's the world according to them. That might sound like, hey, can I ask you a question? Like, you want to run your business. You're looking to like, obviously make a, where does profit matter for you? Yeah, of course I want to make profit. Cool. Would you be cool with then like running an audit of your stuff? Because you believe it or not, people spend a lot on pens. They spend a lot on things. Like there's all kinds of things that we might have levers that will be effective for you. So can I run an audit? That's a different conversation than I have a good pen for you to buy, right? speak into their listening what matters to them in the world. What we want, what matters to us doesn't matter. Money, time, and magic, I don't say matters because it matters to me. I say money, time, and magic because it's what matters to everybody in some priority order. Love you guys. Let's have a great day. Positive vibration, fired up energy, loving in truth, drama-free zone. Make your life a drama-free zone. Be a warrior for truth in love, not a drama-free zone. You're not here on this planet to convince everybody on the fringes of things. Stay out of the fringes. Stay in the center. Cause leadership. Drive forward. Stay out of drama. Don't read polarizing things online today. It's not going to help you. You're not going to help them by fighting. Cause leadership at a higher level. Love you. Rise in your mastery.